Hey everybody, it's First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Hope you're having a great Wednesday evening. We had a pretty good snow event in the mountains this morning, which I think caught some people off guard, not because we weren't expecting snow. I think it was because how cold it was and the fact that we had some really cold road temperatures, which made for some slick spots. So folks in the mountains, you got about 1 to 4 inches of snow this morning. This was not the event that I'm going to talk about right now, which is what everybody's been talking about. It seems like I started hinting at this last week, and every day it's just gotten amped up even more and more. You know me, I don't like the hype thing, so I'm going to lay out what we know now. But there are a couple things I'm growing confident in, and I don't mind saying this, and it's not hyperbole. Somebody in our viewing area, the Western Carolinas, especially Western North Carolina, is going to have a storm that they'll tell their kids about. This is the type of setup. Now, I can't tell you exactly where that location is. I have some general ideas, but I'm really confident somebody's going to see it. So let's get right to the action. We'll show you where the system is now, and it's coming at us in a little bit of a couple pieces. I don't want to just say this is the exact system. I think that does a disservice to it, but there's a piece of energy here, but you can also see the southern branch of the jet stream kicking off here. And if you look carefully, you can see a little dip in the northern branch of the jet stream. So you kind of got three things kind of coming together that are going to form our winter storm over the southern plains and Texas. And in fact, there are winter storm watches and warnings up in this area already. This will be a pretty significant winter storm in this area as well before it moves to the east. Now, what's going on ahead of this system, which is really important and why my confidence in this is growing a little bit, is the cold air coming in today. It's been cold. I mean, this is one shot of cold air. There's another one coming in up here. You can kind of see there's a secondary front here that's going to dive into the region, and that cold air is going to come in way ahead of the system. One of the things, if you love snow around the Carolinas, one thing we always grapple with is getting the cold air in here before the moisture gets here. Oftentimes the cold air is chasing the moisture. What I mean is it comes in behind it. It's coming in at the same time, which isn't the greatest setup. But when you can get cold air, deep cold air, to move in well ahead of a storm system, I tell you what, that means somebody here in the southeast is going to get clobbered. Now, I have to clear something up because earlier on Facebook, and it's gotten like 1,500 shares, I posted this graphic, and maybe it's my fault, and I'll take a little bit of blame for it, but this is not a snowfall map. This is my snow meter, and I'll move my head out of the way here. My snow meter, I do this for Charlotte in particular, and occasionally the mountains, but I get a lot of requests for, what's the snow meter at my house, or the snow meter here? Think of this as like a threat level from 0 to 10. What are the impacts going to be on my area? We have some fun with it, but this is really an impact-based scale from 0 to 10 on what are the legitimate chances of getting significant snow. These aren't inches. If this was an inch, there would be a little inch mark next to it. And there would be a scale up here telling you inches. This is the scale down here. So 8 to 9 means it's 8 to 9 on this scale. 4 to 5 means it's 4 to 5 on this scale. And 1 to 3 means it's on this scale. So I wanted to clear that up because there was a bunch of confusion. You know, amazingly, people on Facebook don't read everything. They just comment or share. Shocking, I know. But let me show you the snow meters in particular. This is the snow meter for Charlotte right now. We're at a solid 4. I thought about bumping this up to a 5, but we still are only on Wednesday, by the way. So we're not quite there yet. But we're certainly at prepare mode, which buying bread and milk is fun. Everyone in the South, everyone has fun with that. It's jokingly to say bread and milk, but it's really buy supplies. Let me turn my notifications off over here because they're blowing up. It's really to buy supplies for the storm. And what I mean by that is you're going to be stuck in your house probably in many locations for a couple days. This is going to be like a deadly thing like a hurricane or flood or severe weather. But if you stay off the road, you'll be fine as long as you have power. But you should be ready to be at home for a couple of days. So just plan on that. Now in the mountains, we are definitely going to be way up here on the scale. Right now, I almost put it at a 10. Which means snowed in, which is I do think somebody will be snowed in. But this is going to be a big time event for the North Carolina mountains and foothills. And I'll talk more about what those locations are right now. I've shown this map quite a bit. I love this map because this is what I can do before I know about totals. I can really kind of hone in on the areas I think will be impacted the most. And you could see I have an area in red here on the eastern facing slopes and really most of the mountains in adjacent foothills. There's a 90% chance or higher of significant snow and ice. And what I mean by that is enough snow and ice that it will make travel completely impossible, I think, in some of these locations. And without saying specific totals, it's way more than 5 or 6 inches, and it could be even double or triple that in some locations. Now, the pink area is the 70 to 90%, 50 to 70, and then down here in the Charlotte area, you can kind of see the transition zone starts right in here. It's always over Charlotte for some weird reason. I can't explain it other than that it just has to do with the geography of where Charlotte is. In the grand scheme of things, the cold air usually gets locked in up here. It's just a latitude thing. If Charlotte was up here, it wouldn't have anything to do with Charlotte. But this is also the biggest population center. Pretty much the population in our area, the highest density of population is right there, and that's also where the transition point is. So that makes my job increasingly difficult. So as far as impacts right now, here's what I'm thinking. Excuse me. I almost put extreme up here, but high impacts. And what I mean by these words is I'm not talking about totals. I'm talking about how it's going to impact your life. In these high impact areas, that means travel will not be likely on really starting late Saturday night, probably after midnight, all day Sunday, and maybe all day Monday and parts of Tuesday. So travel would be highly discouraged in this area, and there could be power outages. Now, if it's wet, heavy snow, that's going to stick to the trees and bring down trees and power lines. Now, it is December, but there still are a lot of leaves on the trees. They haven't all fallen off yet. So there's more surface area on some of these trees than there typically or normally would be. So the potential for some significant icing is going to be occurring up there in those areas, even if it's snow. Further south, the impacts could be travel and could be ice. That's where I really struggle with how much of an impact we could see in Charlotte. Now, the reason I struggle with the impact, and I'm going to show you a graphic that I show you a lot during the warm season, it's our rainfall forecast for 7 days. Now, I only show you this because this is always going to show liquid precipitation. How much would this be if this was all moisture? So this is rainfall. This is not snow again. I have to clarify because everyone thinks this is snow when they see maps like this. This is rainfall. So 1 to 2 inches of rain, 2 to 3 inches of rain, 3 to 4 inches. Now, the majority of this is coming up Saturday through Monday. Now, if this was all rain, this would be how much rain it is. But the problem is there's going to be cold air. This is not going to all be rain. That is a lot of moisture moving into cold air. If half of the rainfall is snow or ice, you're talking about double-digit inches of snow and ice. And we're talking like foot, okay? A general rule of thumb, and this isn't always the case, but in some of the snowfall maps you see is a 10 to 1 ratio, which means 10 inches of snow equals 1 inch of rainfall. Now, that's in a perfect ideal environment. Occasionally in our area, it's typically like 7 to 1 because the atmosphere is a little bit warmer. And if you've ever skied in like western Colorado or Utah and you got that champagne powder, I've seen it 30 to 1, sometimes even 50 and 60 to 1. And which means it's really powdery snow. So it, basically, you could get 1 inch of liquid equaling 30 inches of snow. Sometimes it's as high as 70. So that just to kind of give you an idea of that there's a lot of moisture coming in, folks. If it is all snow and ice or even half of it, it's going to be a huge impact on our area. And that's why we're taking this so seriously, and why you need to be taking this seriously as well, because this isn't some little dinky event. This isn't some dusting to 2 inches. I don't care if you're from Minnesota or you're from Buffalo or Pittsburgh or wherever you're from. This would be a big storm anywhere, and for the Carolinas, it has the chance to be an all-timer for somebody. So here's the setup, and this is why it's going to be an all-timer, because there is copious amounts of moisture coming in, and the cold air is going to be in place. So you see our high pressure pushing the cold air in, clockwise flow. Dew points will be in the teens and single digits, so that cold, dry air moves in. At the same time, this system is going to have the subtropical jet going crazy. What I mean by that is there's going to be a big, I'm going to widen this out, there's a big influx of moisture from the Pacific and from the Gulf of Mexico and Atlantic coming in here. So you combine Arctic high pressure and all this tropical moisture overrunning each other here in the Carolinas, you have the perfect setup for a huge snow and ice event. Now the question is, where does that snow, ice, rain line set up? That's the uncertainty. The uncertainty in a storm system being somewhere here is very, very high, actually, or very, very low, I should say. We're about 90 to 95% sure we're going to have a major storm somewhere in this area. Where the uncertainty is where does these fine lines of rain, snow, sleet, and freezing rain set up? Those are more on the order of 10, 30, 50-mile differences that are just too hard to figure out at this time scale. So this is through Saturday. So just for planning purposes, notice the time up here, Saturday. So you should be fine Saturday afternoon into the evening. Really no issues. Where things will start to go downhill, it's going to be Saturday night. So I'm going to show you the long-range tracking storm here, and that's the setup again. So I'll start Thursday. We'll go, this is a little bit longer range futurecast. And again, don't take the location of these rain snow line verbatim right now. It's still early. This is a general idea. We're Wednesday. This isn't really going to start until 72 hours from now. So here it is, Saturday, 11 p.m. You can see our high pressures right here, and the cold air is being pumped in. You see maybe the first bits of snow in southwestern North Carolina, maybe up some rain up to the state line. And this certainly could start as rain or sleet in our area. But notice the time, 11 o'clock. So if you have plans Saturday, you're fine. As long as you're home by late Saturday night or Saturday evening, you're going to be okay. This is mainly going to be a Sunday, Monday event. As we go through time, watch the moisture increase. The rain will probably start as rain in Charlotte, but it'll change to sleet and eventually probably snow at some point. Now, do I believe this is where the rain snow line is? It could be. It could be here. So it's going to be somewhere in this area. This model shows the high pressure wedging down here, and actually a lot of the guidance is showing the colder air being much deeper. That's because the low is farther south. It's down here. Now, if the low forms up here in southern Georgia, that's going to push that rain snow line further north. So we'll go through time here and watch this. Even though it starts as snow, watch how it tries to go back to rain in Charlotte. So you see the heavy snow up here, but now it looks like a rainy mix down here. So even if it starts as snow, sometime on Sunday it could change back. And then it could go back to snow or sleet or freezing rain again. You can see how messy this is. I mean, this is just, this area right in here is clearly going to be the transition line. But look, we're at 7 o'clock now. We've had about 12 hours of something falling, sleet, freezing rain, or rain. We go into Monday morning. I kind of went quick there. We'll go into the overnight hours. So you can see 10 p.m. could be rain. And the reason this might change back to rain is the low is like kind of behind my head. I'm going to move my map here, or move my head. So the low, just so you guys can see where the low is. So the low is here, and what's happening is strong warm air and the mid-levels are coming in and producing some warm air aloft. Now this is why I think these areas in the mountains absolutely could get clobbered. The moisture is one thing, but if we get an east-southeast wind, which is then pushing air into the mountains and lifting it, you're going to squeeze out even more moisture. Now, if you've seen flooding events, and you have in the mountains and foothills, you know what I'm talking about. In the summer, when we get a southeast wind, or like when Florence was passing to our south and we had that strong upslope, which produced flooding, this is the opposite. In the winter, it produces snow. So you're going to get very strong uplift, which actually causes cooling, and you can get some big-time snow. So like today, we had a northwest flow event, and that's what produced the snow in the mountains. Think of this as a southeast flow event or easterly flow event, which will ramp that moisture into the mountains. But in this case, it's cold enough to produce snow. So this could really dump a ton of snow on the eastern facing slope. So if you're in Upper Burke County, Caldwell County, Wilkes County, McDowell County, Rutherford County, Polk County, Transylvania County, some of these areas that normally don't see snow on like they do on the northwest side, you could get absolutely hammered with this system. And then on Monday, we go into Monday morning. What happens is the surface low is way out here. There's an upper low back here that moves through. Now, the upper low brings its own cold air with it. So the flow starts wrapping back around this way. Cold air starts coming back in. This could all transition back to snow on Monday. So don't think this is over. There could be a lull Sunday night, and then things could crank back up again on Monday. So this is Monday at 11 o'clock at night. Another burst of snow possible. And then you can see it starts to move out, and by Tuesday morning, it's gone. But I mean, that is a long duration event from basically Saturday at midnight. Let's go back to midnight. From midnight Saturday, we'll go to Sunday midnight or Monday morning, and then we'll go to Monday night into Tuesday morning. So we've got a 48-hour window there where you're going to have the possibility of snow, sleet, or freezing rain. So kind of what do we know now and what don't I know? I always like to tell people what I don't know, which sometimes is too much. But the moisture is there. This is clear. The timing's pretty straightforward. I just showed you Saturday night into Monday. So Sunday being the heart of this, but even Monday. The pattern, this is why this has been talked about for a week now. This pattern, man, you could see this 10 to 15 days out. And at some point you expect, okay, you're going to look at the long-range guidance and all the guidance and start showing that pattern changing. It hasn't shown this pattern changing at all. Cold air above the surface, this is what we call a warm nose. That's all based on the track. So these two things right here, the question marks, they're actually closely tied together. But surface cold air, I'm actually growing more confident. It will be cold enough at the surface at least for some kind of wintry precip. The difference will be whether it's sleet, freezing rain, or snow in some locations, or a cold rain based on those two things. This thing right here is the biggest issue right now that we face with forecasting this, mainly in the Charlotte area. But right now, as of this minute, as of Wednesday night, almost 9 p.m., this is my thinking. You can see I generally think snow to sleet, all of it there. I don't think it ever goes to rain in these locations, honestly. Down here, this is solidly a mix, and then you could see the cold rain and maybe some mix. Maybe even at the end we see it go back to snow. I showed this graphic earlier just to explain why this is so difficult sometimes. When the atmosphere is set up like this, the cold air is up here, it's snowing, it melts on the way down, the warm air becomes rain. Well, what oftentimes happens is we get cold air at the surface, and that warm nose is sitting right in there. That's a freezing rain setup. That could happen at times. And then at times that warm layer shrinks and it becomes sleet because it gives the rain opportunity to refreeze on the way down. In this case, we could see this bounce around quite a bit between all of these. And then if you have it cold air all the way to the surface, and it doesn't have to be 32 at the surface, but just has to be close enough to that and really cold above the head for it to be snow. And we could see that bounce back and forth between all of those. So much so that when I made this graphic to kind of explain that is, I'm going to move my head out of the way here for a second, is, this is the typical warm layer, cold layer thing. So we might start with Boone has all snow, Hickory has all snow, Mooresville has snow, Charlotte has sleet, and Rock Hill has cold rain. Well, over time, as this storm moves through, you're going to see this thing go back and forth. The cold air might come down to Rock Hill for a while. We might see a mix of sleet or snow, and it might become more snow in Charlotte or sleet. And then it's going to slide back to the north, and the rain line can move up to Mooresville. And this could happen several times over Saturday night, Sunday, Monday time frame. So you could see that happening multiple times as we go through this storm system. So that's why this is still a difficult forecast, because we don't know exactly where that freezing line is. But I will tell you this, I'm growing increasingly positively confident. I reaffirm it. I am very confident, let's just say that this area is going to get clobbered. It's just a matter of how much. Now, tonight at 11, I'm going to update. I'm working on it right now. I'm going to have my first call snowfall map. I've actually been messing around with it. I don't normally do them this early, typically because it's so far out, but my confidence is high enough in this area I circled in yellow that I feel comfortable I can at least give you an idea. My ranges are going to be pretty big because it's so far out, and as we get closer, I'll narrow them down. But again, if you're in that area in yellow, we joke about the bread and milk thing all the time. Please get ready to be stuck at home for a couple days, and please be ready not to travel because I do think roads will be very, very treacherous all day Sunday, most of Monday, and maybe even into Tuesday. Now Sunday, it's the Lord's Day. Obviously, a lot of people would normally be going to church and won't be going. Not a lot of people work. There's not a lot of things open. Football is on, so there will be a lot of weather going on, but probably not as impactful as on Monday when businesses, schools, and people try to commute and travel. So Monday could end up being a bigger impact because just more stuff going on Monday. So just be ready to have major issues on Monday morning if you have school, work, or a business that needs to open. But right now is the time to prepare and hear. And then if you're in this area in blue, I don't think you need to be as concerned, but I would have a plan, put it together, because I think by tomorrow or Friday, we'll know if the totals are going to ramp up. And it could be one of those things, I hate to say this, but where even in Mecklenburg County, I mean, it could be Huntersville, Gastonia to Concord gets 6 inches of snow, and Ballantyne, Indian Trail, Rock Hill, York, Monroe gets like a dusting to an inch or a bunch of sleet. So just be ready. That's the kind of storm system this is. It's not going to be an easy one. So that's my thinking right now. Tonight at 11, I will release my first snowfall map that I am working on right now. I'll be making some adjustments to it. Huge disclaimer, it's Wednesday. This isn't hitting until Sunday, so count on it changing. I'm not going to go crazy high or crazy low. I'm kind of give you a general range so you can plan ahead for the weekend. So hope that helped you out a little bit. I'll try to go to the comments. I know there's going to be a bazillion of them and try to answer as many as possible. But this is one of those events. It's an early season event. We typically don't see big storms like this early in the season. Don't let climatology or history tell you this isn't going to happen. There is a high confidence this is going to happen. The pattern is there, folks. Unless something dramatically changes where a bunch of warm air comes in and it changes all the rain, that's very unlikely for the mountains and foothills. That could happen for Charlotte, but I can tell you somebody in the western part of our state is going to get an all-timer that they'll tell their kids about, and people will go, do you remember the snowstorm or the winter storm of 2018? They'll be telling their kids and grandkids about that in some parts of the Western Carolinas. So I'll see you tonight at 11. Of course, I will be posting updates on my Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. I'll do my Instagram update. I haven't done one in a while here coming up to kind of give people updates on there. Have a great night, everybody.